Hello there and welcome. Ask a Lawyer here on CP24. We are back for another week. Loving it. Employment law, workplace rights is what we talk about. John Scholes right here momentarily on your screen. My good pal, employment lawyer, partner at EmploymentLawyer.ca, Lior Samfiru, here back again this week. Right off the top, I always tell you the contact information to reach out to Lior, which you should do with any questions at any time. 1-855-821-5900. Ask at EmploymentLawyer.ca, and we'll get to some other contact information as the show progresses. And as you know, in the second segment, you always have a main topic. This week it is, you are still owed severance pay if. Very common questions and misconceptions when it comes to this topic. That's why we're going to cover that. We'll get to some phone calls as well, some emails. It's a whole mixed bag, but a busy one over the course of the next 30 minutes or so. So stay tuned and enjoy the show. We'll get to Lior here in a sec, get him on the air, talk about the week that was, and move on to other things. Lior, what's going on with you today, pal? There he is. How are you?
Hey, Johnny, great to be here,
Yeah,
of course. Employment law, you named it. That's exactly what we're going to be talking about. And the reason we've been able to do the show for this long, for so many years, is because there's questions, there's issues that come up. It's really endless. There's so many issues you may be faced with during the course of your employment. But the common thread, the common theme throughout these issues, or with these issues, is whatever the issue is, there are answers. There's solutions. There are things that you can do. And that's why we're here to tell you about that, to make you know that if you're facing a workplace problem, you're not alone. The law has already dealt with that. There are ways to address that issue. Whether you've lost your job, whether you're being mistreated in the workplace, if your job has changed, your hours has been reduced, you've been relocated. The law is quite familiar with all these issues. We already have built-in solutions. So if you want to know what to do, why don't you, first of all, listen to the show, watch the show, but beyond that, you can always reach me and my team at the office at any time, and we'll give you that contact information throughout the show. So let's have that discussion. But I always like to start off with the case of the day. Now, John, over the past few weeks, I've been seeing severance offers that are worse than ever. I always say that 90% of severance offers are inadequate. But over the past few weeks, that delta, the difference between what someone has been offered and what they should have been offered, I've seen that increase significantly. Now, I have a perfect example of that. I spoke with a gentleman who, believe it or not, when he was let go, was not even calling me about his severance offer. He called me because he was upset that his record of employment that he got once he lost his job was not filled in correctly by his employer. He felt that the code used in the record of employment was the incorrect code, and he was concerned that because of that, he's not going to qualify for EI. So right off the bat, I reviewed it, and I told him, actually, your employer used the correct code. Your employer didn't do anything wrong with respect to your record of employment. You're going to qualify for employment insurance. But there's a much bigger issue here. This guy had worked for the same employer for just shy of 10 years, okay? And he was offered 10 weeks of severance. And he thought that was perfectly appropriate because he thought all he was owed is 8 weeks. Well, John, he was actually owed 12 months of severance. So not 2.5 months that he was offered, 12 months, a year's pay. He had no knowledge of that. He didn't know that. He just was concerned about the record of employment. So it took me a while to kind of pick him up off the floor once he realized that he was owed another 10 months of pay. I'm going to help him get that. It's not going to be complicated. But I want to remind everyone here that we're here for you if you lost your job, and it's more important than ever to make that call because chances are, still 90% chance that whatever you've been offered is inadequate, but it's now even more likely that you're owed that much more than what you've been offered. Very important to make that call. Let's talk about it. Let's make sure you get what you're owed.
I did mention off the top, Lior, of course, phone calls. We like to get a lot on this show and discuss them because they're pretty informative. We learn a lot every week. We'll get to one right now, similar to what we get every week on our radio show. So listen up, pal. Here's the first one for this half hour.
I'm going to be getting called back to work soon. I've been laid off. Part of my salary is commission-based. Been working there for close to 20 years. So now my commission is going to be basically next to zero. So is there anything I can do about that? Is my employer responsible to give me more money? How about if they want to start me off slowly, like part-time, and then build up?
There you go. What do you think?
So, John, what his employer is doing or about to do is not legal. They don't have a right to reduce his pay, to take away his commissions. That's not legal. Now, the fact that it's not legal does not mean that you can physically stop your employer or that you can force your employer to do something else. It gives you other rights, and the right that he has here is to treat his employment as being terminated and get severance. We call this constructive dismissal. His employer doesn't have a right to take away his commission, to change his pay, to reduce it. By the way, they didn't even likely have the right to put him on a temporary layoff. That alone could be a constructive dismissal. So the choice he has to make now is this. Does he go back on the basis that he has no commission, or does he consider his employment as being terminated and get his full severance? So the last thing that we need to know so that he can make that decision is figure out how much severance is owed. For that, we're going to use our severance calculator tool. You can find that at EmploymentLawyer.ca. Let's use that right now and see what he would get by way of severance. So he's in a sales role, been there for 20 years, 52 years of age. Company's not offering severance, they're just offering to take away his commission. We see he's owed right around 18 months severance, and it could even be more than that, but about 18 months of pay. So those are the options that he has. Same with you at home. If your employer wants to make significant changes to the terms of employment, or for that matter, if they put you on a temporary layoff, you may be able to consider that as a termination, get your full severance, and a good place to find out how much you're owed is just go to PocketEmploymentLawyer.ca.
All right, good stuff, Lior. We got to take a short break. We'll do that now. And on the other side, our main topic, you are still owed severance if. We'll get to that on the other side as we continue here. Ask a Lawyer on CP24. Stay with us.
Lost your job? Disability denied? Ask a Lawyer is here for you. Each week, experts from EmploymentLawyer.ca answer your questions. Visit cp24.com/askalawyer and watch Mondays and Wednesdays at 9 p.m. on CP24.
Okay, welcome back to Ask a Lawyer, CP24. Lior Samfiru, as you know, Employment Lawyer at EmploymentLawyer.ca, always reachable. And phone line is first defense right there, 1-855-821-5900. Back it up nicely with the email, ask@EmploymentLawyer.ca, and scan that QR code on the top right of your screen while it's still up there as well. Okay, main topic time, Lior. It's a good one, and a lot of misconception with this topic. That's why we're going to cover it this week. You are still owed severance pay if, number one, you have been incorrectly called either a contractor or independent contractor, still owed severance.
Incredibly common scenario, John, where someone is being called an independent contractor when they're not really. Remember, you don't decide if you're an independent contractor, or the company that you work for doesn't decide that. The law makes that determination for us. So if you look like an employee and act like an employee, you are an employee. Very common to be misclassified. So if you are an employee, but called a contractor, you have the rights of an employee, including the right to get severance. So if you're a contractor, supposedly, but you've really been misclassified, you could be owed as much as 24 months of severance if you lost that job. So please don't ever assume that you're really a contractor. You are likely an employee. I see this every single day. So if you lost your job, whether you're a contractor, an employee, or you're not even sure, we need to talk. You're probably owed severance, and that could be quite significant.
Okay, number two, Lior, you are also owed severance if you've only worked somewhere for a very short amount of time, too. A lot of people don't think so.
A lot of people don't think so, and it's very easy to understand why they wouldn't think so. Well, I only worked for a few months. I probably am not owed anything if I lost my job. Maybe I get a few days' pay. Not at all, not even close. Short service employees are actually treated disproportionately better than longer service employees. So even as a short service employee, let's say you work for a few months, you have significant termination entitlements. It may still take you a long time to find a job. It doesn't mean that just because you work somewhere for a few months, you're going to find a job immediately. So your severance accounts for that. So even after a few months of employment, your severance is going to be measured in months, not days, not weeks, but in months. In some cases, the length of severance can be more than the length of employment. So please do the smart thing, do the right thing. Give us a call if you lost your job. Doesn't matter how long you've worked. Or as I said before, check out PocketEmploymentLawyer.ca and use the free and anonymous severance calculator.
Again, just to go over it this week, we're talking about times you are still owed severance. Number three this week, Lior, but this could very shortly rise to number one. That is, you're still owed severance if you're laid off due to restructuring, performance issues, or the economy, right? That's looming large.
Yeah, and there's a very big misconception out there that if the employer had a good justifiable reason for letting you go, you're not going to get severance. Well, they're struggling, or they're restructuring, or maybe I wasn't doing a good job. So all of those are legitimate, so I can be let go without severance. No, none of that is true. Your employer may have many reasons to let you go, but almost all of those reasons still require the company to pay you severance, even if they have a good reason, even if they're not picking on you. The only time your employer can deprive you of severance is if you've done something so bad, so terrible, that it's not possible to continue employing you. We call that a termination for cause. In almost every other case, you get severance, even if the company had a justifiable, legitimate reason to let you go.
Number 4 is this, Lior, you're still owed severance if you're let go due to medical reasons.
Yeah, absolutely. Just because you can't work or you have a medical condition or you need accommodation and support does not mean your employer can say, well, something has happened, we deprive you of severance. Not even close. If you're let go for medical reasons or because of a medical issue, by the way, that termination could be illegal. That could be a human rights violation. But you're certainly going to be owed severance. Your employer has to accommodate you. They shouldn't be letting you go. But when it comes to severance, not only do you get it, in fact, you may be getting even more severance. If because of your medical condition, it's going to be more difficult to find another job, then not only do you get severance, you're going to get more severance than if you were completely healthy. So please don't ever assume that because you're sick, unable to work, that the company can just get rid of you and not pay you severance. The termination itself could be illegal, and either way, you're owed significant severance.
All right, Lior, we covered that topic off this week very nicely. I think we got time to squeeze in a quick phone call here before we break, so listen up, here it comes.
My boss had given us a contract to sign, constricting our employment terms and constricting our severance as well. And we stated to him that we wouldn't be signing it. And then he's come back and given us another contract saying pretty much the same thing, telling us how he desperately needs this contract signed. He said that if he wants to, he could give us all a 2-year termination notice, and then he could rehire us after the 2 years just to get us to sign this contract. Is that something he can do? How should we handle this now?
Wow.
Well, she's correct to be concerned about this employment agreement, because the only reason really your employer is going to want you to sign a brand new employment agreement is if the terms are better for the employer. And if that contract tries to limit severance, if you sign it and a month later you're let go, you could have lost tens of thousands of dollars or more just by virtue of signing that employment agreement. Don't do that. Don't sign it. They can't force you or punish you for refusing. And this notion of, well, we'll just give you 2 years notice and then rehire you is nonsense. Because even back then, if they rehire you, they have to acknowledge prior service. It's not going to work. So if you're being offered a new employment agreement to sign, let me see it. You should be concerned about it. Don't sign it before doing that without me seeing it. If you sign it now, you may well regret it later.
All right, Lior, we'll take a short break, got to sidestep a little bit as we get into our good pal James Fireman on the other side, partner and disability lawyer at disabilityrights.ca. We're going to go to that side of what the firm does after a short break as we continue Ask a Lawyer here on CP24. Stay with us.
Lost your job? Disability denied? Ask a Lawyer is here for you. Each week, experts from EmploymentLawyer.ca answer your questions. Visit cp24.com/askalawyer and watch Mondays and Wednesdays at 9 p.m. on CP24.
All right, and we're back. Ask a Lawyer here on CP24. Anytime you want to reach out to James Fireman, disability lawyer and partner at disabilityrights.ca. Same phone number right there, 1-855-821-5900. This time around, ask at disabilityrights.ca. And the QR code is back on your screen as well. Going to get to a phone call momentarily, James, but we always start off with, well, I know why you're here, but why are you here?
Well, just like Lior and the employment team, my team is here to help wherever you are in the disability insurance process. Now, John, most people don't spend a lot of time thinking about their disability insurance until they need it, until they become disabled from working. And when they do, unfortunately, the experience is universally one of frustration. They find it complicated and the process can be very, very confusing. But here's some good news. Wherever you are in the process, whether you're thinking about applying, whether your claim is being adjudicated by the insurance company, whether you've been cut off or denied and you're thinking about appealing, P.S. don't do that, or if you've decided that you need some legal help, we're here for that. And here's some more good news for you, John. It's a 100% free consultation. All you have to do is pick up the phone and give us a call.
With that, give it a call. We always have phone calls on the show, as you know, like very similar to what we get on our weekly radio show. And the phone call for you, James, is coming up. So listen up. Here it is.
I was cut off long-term disability because my adjuster saw photos of me on Facebook sitting and smiling at my sister's wedding 3 months ago. I'm just devastated. My psychiatrist even wrote to them and told them that I still can't work, but they won't budge. And I don't know what to do.
The old social media play, huh?
Well, it's completely inappropriate.
Yeah.
So we're not living in the Stone Ages anymore. We understand that people can have severe mental health disabilities. They can have severe depression. And that does not mean that they're incapable of smiling, especially for a photograph, particularly at a wedding. Who are we kidding here? We understand this very well. And if an insurance company is using that as the basis for cutting off your claim or denying your claim, then they're wrong. It's as simple as that. And you can start litigation and we can get a very sizable recovery for that, because what they're doing is not just incorrect, it's also bad faith because they know it's wrong. We understand this, particularly about social media. People understand that social media is not representative of people's lives. People used to maybe think that, but now we understand it's really more of a greatest hits or best of. People typically put their best foot forward when they're on social media, but that does not mean if you're smiling in a photograph that you're not depressed anymore. That's absurd. It's absolutely ridiculous. And if you're in this situation, then by all means, give us a call, because there is certainly something you can do. Now, from a practical perspective, if you are at home and you're thinking about what you should be doing to make sure that doesn't happen to you, I would suggest being careful about what you're posting on social media. Not because you're not allowed to post, not because posting means that you're not entitled to benefits if you're smiling in a photograph, but because there's no reason to give the insurance company any ammunition to cut off your benefits. Don't give them that easy basis to say, oh, well, we saw you doing this and therefore you're not entitled to benefits. So look at your privacy settings and be careful about what you're posting, of course.
We have time for a question. James, as you know, these questions are very similar to what you get pretty much every day, if not every hour, at the firm. So here it goes. How many times can... Oh, you're going to love this. It's your favorite topic. How many times can you appeal the insurance company's decision to cut off your LTD benefits? What do you think, pal?
How many times can you, or how many times should you?
It says can this time.
Yeah, the can you, I mean, it really, I guess, depends on the insurance company. There are some insurance companies that will say you can only appeal once. Some will say 3 times. Some will have absolutely no limit on it. And the reality is the appeal process is not really a thing. If you look at your insurance policy, you're not going to see anything discussing the appeal. It is simply something that is there because the insurance company knows. If they cut off your benefits or deny your claim, you're going to go talk to a lawyer unless they give you some other way to challenge it. And so what they do is they say, well, don't worry, you can appeal. But that appeal is going to be considered by the very same people that made the decision, the incorrect decision, in the first place. So don't waste your time on it. The insurance company is just looking to waste that 2 years. You have 2 years from the date that they denied you before you no longer have any option to pursue litigation. And that's really what they're hoping to do. I've had a client who came to me after 7 unsuccessful appeals. 7. Finally gave me a call, and thankfully we were able to help him out, and we got a very good settlement on that one, even though it was denied 7 times before.
James, as always, pal, thanks for stopping by and doing your segment. We're going to get Lior back in here because we have more phone calls and questions on the other side as we continue Ask a Lawyer here on CP24. Don't go anywhere.
Lost your job? Disability denied? Ask a Lawyer is here for you. Each week, experts from EmploymentLawyer.ca answer your questions. Visit cp24.com/askalawyer and watch Mondays and Wednesdays at 9 p.m. on CP24.
And welcome back to Ask a Lawyer, CP24. Got a few minutes to go here. John Scholes and joining me back momentarily again, Lior Samfiru, EmploymentLawyer.ca. Always reach out to Lior. Make that phone call, 1-855-821-5900. Ask at EmploymentLawyer.ca and scan that QR code anytime you would like. And it's on your screen as well. We'll give you more contact information. Lior, I think we're going to wrap up the show this week with one final phone call. So here it comes, pal. Listen up.
I work for an American company that's been bought out by another American company. I'm an independent sales rep. I just want to know if I'm terminated by the existing company, what am I entitled to?
How long have you worked total, including with the previous company?
8 years.
Exclusively for this company?
Yes. They would have to pay out by Canadian law or U.S. law.
Yep, good question. What do you think, pal?
So let's make it very clear. If you work in Canada, if you work in Ontario, it's the laws of Ontario that apply. It doesn't matter where the company is based out of. It doesn't matter where your colleagues are. It doesn't matter what the server is, where the server is located. If you physically work in Ontario, the laws of Ontario are going to apply to you. And beyond that, of course, if she works exclusively for this company, she is an employee of the company. They may call her an independent sales rep. Nonsense. The law looks at it and says, no, you are an employee. The fact you work for an American company does not change any of that, which means she gets severance. Last thing we need to do is figure out how much severance. Very easy to do. We're going to go back to the severance calculator. You'll find that at pocketemploymentlawyer.ca. Let's see how much severance she's owed. She's been there for 8 years in a sales role, 59 years of age. Severance for her could easily be 12 to 14 months of severance. 12 to 14 months. You can do that yourself if you want to find out how much you're owed. Just go to pocketemploymentlawyer.ca and click on the severance calculator.
And that, my friend, is about all we have time for. Excellent work again, Lior. Really appreciate it. We'll do it all again next week. In the meantime, to reach out to Lior now that we're wrapping up for another week, the phone number is first 1-855-821-5900. Ask at EmploymentLawyer.ca. You heard Lior mention it and use it a couple times. It's called PocketEmploymentLawyer.ca. That website, free and anonymous anytime. You got the severance calculator rolled into that. And for any other information, cp24.com/askalawyer. Thank you so much, and we will catch you next week as well.